Hi everyone, you're welcome to MyProfessorNote. This is Bhupesh Sharma, and here in this video, we're talking about the feminism. Alright, so if I have to explain this whole thing in a one word, what feminism is, what is the core idea behind this? So there's a quotation by the Simone de Weaver in the Second Sex that one is not born, but rather becomes woman. Apologies for not writing clear, right? Women are not born the way they are today, the way they are perceived. Women are trained to be a woman in the society which is constructed by the male. Society is patriarchal, and women are trained to fit into that society. Right? They are always considered secondary to men. At the very beginning, they did not have the right to vote, no right to own property, no access to education, right? That was the scenario back then. And this is how this feminism started. Feminist says the same thing which I said now, that they are not born the way they are. They did not have the interest for fashion, no, don't know that they are supposed to cook, taking care of children. These are the social values which are associated with women by the patriarchal society, right? So as we discussed that they did not have any right to vote, they did not have any right to own a property, they did not have any access to education, feminism started. A socio-political movement to fight for the right of women to have the equality. That is the main purpose of the feminism. And then there are the movement. What are these movements? How they have achieved this position today? Whoever see women, right? Now they have a right to vote, to own property, and that is because of this first wave. This first wave feminism is also known as a civil right movement too, because through this movement, through this wave, they got access to these civil rights, like a right to vote, right to own a property, right? There was always a fight to be equal because they were considered secondary to men. Men is number one, woman is number two. So they also want to come here to be equal. This is what the fight was for. Second wave feminism. It started with the work of Betty Friedan, her work The Feminine Mystique. She said that it is an unknown problem. Women is having a comfortable life. This is about USA, right? Uh, if we want to read about the women's condition in India, so we will read that under the post-colonial feminism. If you want to read about the condition of the African countries, that you will read under the black feminism. In first wave feminism, it was a white women movement only. Only white women were the part of this wave, right? In second wave, we saw the women of the other colors as well, right? They start raising their voice too and got access to education through this second movement. It was not easy, right? So as I was discussing here, that the Betty Friedan in her Feminine Mystics, she said that it is an unknown problem. Women are living a comfortable life at home. Their husbands are earning. They just have to take care of their baby. But they want more. They just do not want to be under their husband and just do not want to take care of the baby. Right? That was the main purpose of this second movement. They wanted to have access to education. Once you get access to education, you can get a job. You can speak up. You will have your own opinions. Right? That's what the fight was for. And with this second wave feminism, the women's studies took the place and they were added to the curricula in the USA. They were the three key areas where these studies were focusing that we will discuss later in the slide. Your third wave feminism. Third wave feminism focused on the right, on the reproductive rights, that the women are given the ability, the women are capable to have a baby. Nature has given them this ability. So now it is their choice to give a birth or to do the abortion. So they wanted to have a complete control on it. So it was a fight for the reproduction. That it is their choice if they want to give a birth or not, if they want to do the abortion. Who is this society to tell us that what we should do with it? Because this is our body, right? And so it becomes our right. It is our biological right, what we want to do with it. That's where the main focus of the third wave was. Right? The main purpose of the video is to give you an idea what feminism is. You should not feel that I do not know anything, how it all started, what is the base. Later we will discuss all those feminist literary critique works, right? Your Judith Butler, your Alice Walker, right? Your Ellen Shaw Walter, your Simone de Weaver, just all the works, all the terms. But here the main purpose is to create a base and to understand this thing from your all sort of exams point of view, right? So that you must be able even to write something about it, even though if you ever get a question, essay kind question in your PhD entrance or in whatsoever examination, right? Then we have the feminist theory part and a political part, right? These are the two parts of the feminism, right? In theory, they talk about the ideology which works behind creating the woman, how the woman is created, the woman that we see today in society, where she is given certain roles to play as a mother, as a daughter, as a wife, right? If she does not play these roles, she is not considered a true woman. She is not a woman then. She has to perform these roles, right? And how this ideology is created, how all these things have taken place, from where these things are coming. This is what this feminist theory is trying to decode. And what they found here, they found here that it is because of their it is because of their representation in the it is because of their representation in the literature and the art. This is how men have written about them. And these books now have become the part of the education system. You are taught all these things, that the women's are weak, seductive, innocent, and now they have to play all these roles, right? So there is a need to change this literature. There is a need to change the pattern and the models of evaluation of these works of literature. This is why we have the gynocriticism. I have created a video on it, so you can check it out on my channel. Gynocriticism, right? This is a term coined by the Ellen Shaw Walter in her work the towards the feminist poetics in 1979. This is where she coined this term, right? So it was all about creating a framework to do the evaluation, to do the analysis of the work of women's literature. They did not want to apply the models and the theories which are created by the men, because they are male centered. That is what the main purpose of feminist theory is. In a similar way, as we have the three waves, three movements in the feminism, the similar way we have the three movements here, right? The very first is to be equal here again. There is a there is a literature which is created by the male writers and the female writer. And the female writer's work was always considered secondary, and the most of the time they were rejected. So very first task was for them to create a literature which is equal to the literatures of the men, right? Which is given the equal respect, because none of these women writers were able to write a work which can be added in the intellectual literature. Why? Because of the models and the literary merits and the values and aesthetics which are created by the men's, and they have always rejected their work. The second one is the feminist phase. Here, the main purpose is to challenge these values or these rules which are created by the men writers. They have created the parameters, and their work has to be up to these parameters if they want to be accepted. Third one is the beyond now. So here they are trying to redefine women, that who woman actually is. This is not the woman which is defined by the male society. After second wave feminism in 1960s, women studies was added in the curricula in the USA, right? I discussed this earlier. And now they were focusing on the three things: the knowledge, which is created by men. They criticize that, right? Because it is just because of that knowledge, because that knowledge is male centered. That knowledge is created by the patriarchal society, right? And this society is formed on the base of that knowledge, and now women are trained to fit in into that society. The second area they were focusing on is the recovery of the women's text. If we want to have the knowledge which belongs or which is created by the women, we have to recover those texts first, which were rejected by the men's, because they did not consider them equal to their works of literature. They always consider them secondary because they did not have the enough knowledge in it. Women are incapable of writing the good literary work. They did not have the intelligence. All these things were there. So they talk about recovering these works first. And on the basis of these work, they start evaluating work. Now they have the knowledge which is created by women, not by men. Third one is a shift from the liberal feminist to the socialist and radical. So these are the three type of feminism we have. The the liberal one is the mainstream mainstream social structure feminism. Oh my god, my writing. Right? It talks about bringing the women's in the mainstream social structure, like in your parliament, in your courts. When we will have the women's there, only they will be able to understand the plight of women. If we just have men's in the parliament, will they ever pass a bill in the favor of women? No, they will not, because they do not understand what they're actually going through. So they said that women have to be a part of the mainstream social structure, right? And in this phase, this shift came to socialist and the radical. Socialists talk about that it is not because of the gender indifference only. Economy has a huge role to play in it. So in this socialist feminism, women started to work with the men, right? If you have a money, uh, just think of a woman with the money and a woman without a money, right? If you have a money, so you can avoid a lot of bad things which are there in the way of a woman. If you have a money, if you have a financial independence. So socialist feminism is all about that. Radical view radical view talk about reordering the society. It should not be dominated by male, right? Women should be there in the role of that man. They talk about, when we say radical, what do we understand by radical? Radical is a complete change. We do not want to live in a society which is dominated by men. So they want to give these roles to the women's. For example, when we if I ask you, like, give me the name of the three candidates for the Prime Minister, only three names will come into our mind. Two or three, and they are obviously men. I mean, why only men? Why not women? So, I mean, there is something wrong now. Maybe we say that women do not have the enough education, they do not have enough experience, so they cannot be the president, they cannot be, prime minister. And this is what the fight for in the feminism mostly today. If we just see in Russia, in America, why only men's, why not women, right? So this is what the this all shift is from the mainstream social structure to the all other areas of society. That operation is not happening on the basis of gender only, कि वो gender के base पे ही operation नहीं हो रहा है, ठीक है, उसी उसी base पे आपको दबाया नहीं जा रहा है, but इसमें और भी चीजें, अगर women financially freedom उसके पास होगी तो उतना दबाव उस पे मेल सोसाइटी नहीं कर पाएगी. So they have to earn the money, they have to do the job. This is what the thing is. Now with the type of feminism, as I discussed, I think I discussed these three of things with you. What is socialist, what is radical, what is the liberal. So feminism, we know it is about equality, right? It is about the fight to equality, men and women's both together, right? And understanding why they are not equal. What's wrong? That ideology. What that ideology is, that the society is created and formed on the rules which are created by the men, right? And women are trained to fit in into that society, right? This is what feminism is. Then we have a socialist. What is a socialist philosophy? We also read this under communism. We also read this under Marxism. That all the society having the equal income sources, right? Everyone in society have the equal property, equal money. That's what they're talking about. So socialist feminism is the being equal with the men on the level of economy. If they both are earning money, men cannot dominate them. That is the main thing here. Then we have the radical feminism. Radical feminism talk about removing the men from the domination. They do not want a male dominating society. They want to remove the men from the role of dominator. That's what the main purpose here. The liberal feminism is about the mainstream social structure. It's about the mainstream social structure. That there must be equal women in the parliament, right? There must be equal number of women in the parliament. Why do we only have men's in the parliament? Why do not we have female? If we have females in the parliament, they can understand the plight of women. They will pass the bills in their favor, right? That's what the liberal feminism talks about. It talks like liberal is being open, having a free mind. It also have other aspects to it. They also talk about that taking a care of a baby is not a work of a woman only. Men also have to take care of the baby because that's their child too. Why women are staying at home? Why not men? So all these questions liberal feminism ask. Then we talk about the feminism as a theory. It was started by the Mary Wollstonecraft, right? The feminism as a theory, the first writing about the feminism, it was written by the Mary Wollstonecraft in a work, A Vindication of the Right of Women in the 1972. So what she said is that it is because of the education, because women are not given access to education, they don't have a voice, right? They don't have voice. If you have education, you can keep your own opinion, you can put your own opinions, you can think creatively. But when you're not given access to education, how you will be able to speak up for yourself? Because then you do not know anything. You can't understand the structures, very very deep structures of this society. So you have to be educated first. If you're educated, you will get a job. right? And you will come equal to the men, and that men does not want, right? She said that the women are not naturally weaker. This is the society which is formed by the men. Again and again, the same thing is with that you will find in the work of these feminists. And in her work, she also attacked Heather Rousseau because he said that the women's there is no need for women of education. There's no need to be educated. That's what he said, and for what she attacked him in her work, a vindication of the right of women. We have the Western feminism, right? So European feminism started with the work of Mary Wollstonecraft, and the Western feminism started with the work of Margaret Fuller, women in the 19th century in 1895. And here she focused the main focus of the Mary Wollstonecraft's work on the education and the role of women, right? She talked about all those things, but her views of the Margaret Fuller were more radical. She talked about employment, she talked about the political rights, right? And she also supported the prison reform, and she's the one who talked about the African American issues. She's the first one to talk about the African American issues. So she is the one with whom this Western feminism start, as it started with the Mary Wollstonecraft work in the Europe. Feminism as a theory. Already discussed this. So then come the third phase of it, right? It was these are the work in the past which has established the feminism. The third one is the feminism that we see today in the modern day, which started with the Virginia Woolf, with her work A Room of One's Own, where she talked about gain the equality between men and women, that they must be given access to education. Then she also gave the example of here this sister of the Shakespeare, that if she was given the same education, if she was treated in the similar way as Shakespeare was, so she could have also done something great like a Shakespeare. This was one of the examples that she gave in her work. She talked about the other writers like Jane Austen, George Eliot in her work. And she talked about here that this how this ideology is formed, that women are living in the society which is formed by the men. So the all the feminist work are just talking about this equality and how this ideology is created. Three Guinness is another work where she talked about the feminism, which was published in the 1938. So what she said, that even though she had a grudge against this patriarchal society, which gives more importance to the point of view of the male, she said that it is not about the male point of view or the female point of view. There must be combination between men and women. Only then something creative we can create. She came up with the idea of the androgynous mind, right? Which possess the quality of the both the sexes, of the both the genders, male and female. And she followed the psychology of the Carl Jung in her work, that female and the masculine are the two qualities which are found in both male and female. Male have more masculine, less feminine, and the female have more feminine, less masculine. And for this, you also coined a term called man womanly, and the woman mainly. Right? This is a term coined by the Virginia Woolf. So make sure you remember them. So this video was just to give you an idea that how this feminism started, what feminism actually is, what they're trying to prove, right? Even though now this is the fourth wave feminism, right? We have come way further now. So this is the only thing that you have to keep in your mind regarding this feminism. In our next video, we'll talk about the your feminist criticism, right? Where we will discuss the terms coined by them, and their works, which are more important from the objective point of view. So I hope you like the video. Make sure you subscribe, and if you want to get access to the notes, so you can just contact me on the below given number and can join our Telegram channel where we'll take a quiz on it. Thanks for watching my Professor Note.